Love him or hate him, the Blue Blur has had an interesting time in the games department over the past few years. Whilst rival mascots have been thriving, Sonic has had some hits and I think it's safe to say a lot of misses. Today though, we're not talking about official games. No, we're talking about fan games. And some of these games, well, they kind of put Sonic Team to shame. So without further ado, I'm Dan from WhatCulture and these are the best Sonic fan games. Number 10, Sonic Encore. First up, we have Sonic Encore, and the main draw of this one is the multiple different characters you can play as. We have the classics in there, but there's also some more obscure characters like Mighty, for instance. And the great thing is about this is that each character also has unique abilities that make them all play slightly different. The visuals here are great, and there's a lot of biome diversity across the different zones, which help keep the game feeling fresh as you progress. Sonic Encore features 11 levels across 6 different zones, and these levels are huge, which can be a positive but also a slight negative. There's various different pathways and ways to progress throughout the levels because they're so huge, and with each individual character having different movement mechanics, you can find secrets and other things based on which character you're playing as, which gives you incentive to go back and retry the levels as different characters. It feels great to race through these giant levels as a Sonic character, and I think while this one's a little bit rough around the edges, it's a fun game to play nonetheless. Number 9, Sonic Worlds DX. Sonic Worlds DX is an interesting game. The concept is definitely better than the execution here, but the main draw of this one is the fan-made content. But talking about the base game for a second, it essentially takes a bunch of different stages from previous official Sonic games and revamps them into larger open playing spaces. Then you're free to run through them as a bunch of different playable characters, and for the most part, it's pretty fun. However, there is some jank in here, which prevents this game from being higher on this list, as it's slightly rough around the edges. I think my main gripe with this one is that the characters feel weightless, which can make the platforming sections a little bit more fiddly than they need to be. It's not all bad though, because once you get the feel for the mechanics of this game, it really opens up. And the main appeal of this one, as previously mentioned, is user-generated content. Custom levels, characters, mods, and much more give this game a huge appeal to Sonic fans. If you can think of a Sonic character, chances are you can probably play as them in this game, with tailored custom gameplay options and mechanics to suit each individual character as well. With some physics tweaks and gameplay refinements, this game could be up there with some of the best Sonic games of all time. Number 8, Sonic Horizons. Sonic Horizons may not be the complete package, but it does so many things right that I had to include it on this list. There's been 2 demos for Horizons. I'm going to focus on the most recent one, which was the Christmas 2024 demo. The main thing that I have to mention up top is that this game nails the way that Sonic feels. The movement is perfect. Momentum plays a huge part in this game, and Sonic just feels incredible to control. I think for me personally, this is the closest that any game has come, official or otherwise, to having the perfect movement for Sonic. Homing attacks maintain speed, rolling allows you to gain momentum, and the sense of going fast is just there, and that's without the boost mechanics as well. The way that you gain, maintain, and increase momentum just feels perfect here. And it just gives Sonic the sense of speed that's needed without having to rely on boost mechanics as a crutch to give you that illusion of speed. And that's why it's such an impressive game. This is one that I'll definitely be keeping an eye on going forward because it has so much potential. Number 7, Sonic Momentum. Sonic Momentum is an interesting take on the classic 2D formula. It uses the Sonic Advance framework, but it makes gameplay changes that essentially put the focus on, well, you guessed it, momentum. So the game introduces a bunch of different mechanics, and at first it took me a little bit of time to get used to them because there's quite a lot of new things to wrap your head around, so that can be a little bit off-putting, but once you get the feel for the mechanics and you nail that perfect run of a level, Sonic Momentum just feels so rewarding to play. There are 3 playable characters here as well. You have Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles, and each of them have their own stats which affect gameplay in different ways. So whilst there's not a ton of different levels present throughout this game, you're going to be going through it differently with each character, which just adds to that replayability factor. But as a whole package, this game is really, really good. The art style is incredible. The music is also a highlight of the game. It's so catchy, and I kind of want to go and see if this soundtrack's available anywhere because it's great. This is one I definitely recommend you check out if you want something a little bit different from your regular 2D Sonic experience. Number 6, Sonic Adventure 2 Redux. Okay, Sonic Adventure 2 is my favorite Sonic game of all time, so this fan game was pretty much guaranteed to be on this list. Redux is a complete from-the-ground remake of Sonic Adventure 2 in Unreal Engine 5. Currently, there are only a few playable levels and boss fights in this game, but more content is promised for the near future. But what is included here is absolutely fantastic. Sonic controls perfectly, and the levels are a faithful adaptation of the original game, with some minor tweaks here and there which improve the flow of gameplay overall. The standout thing here in this game though is the graphics. It's just a visual delight and it's just gorgeous to look at. And as far as gameplay goes here, you get all of Sonic's upgrades from the start as well, which allows you more freedom to explore the levels. The creators of this one have done a brilliant job at faithfully reimagining the game. For example, the Bigfoot boss battle is in here, and it's been revamped, which improves the boss fight and actually adds a little bit of difficulty there too, which was a nice surprise. As of recording, Radical Highway and Green Forest are slated to be released very, very soon, and I cannot wait to play more of this one. Number 5, Sonic Omens. Sonic Omens really surprised me. I kind of went in expecting the worst, but was sort of pleasantly surprised with how this one plays. The ambition of this game can't be denied, and that may be the game's biggest strength, but also its biggest weakness. While the sheer scope of the project is huge, it could have certainly benefited from just being brought down a notch or two because it does go a little bit far in some places. As far as controlling Sonic goes, I think this game really nails it. Probably not as well as Sonic Horizons, but this is a boost-style game, which uses different mechanics from previous Sonic games, and it sort of incorporates them really well. The Sonic missions are definitely the highlight for me. Again, it's the boost gameplay formula that we're all familiar with, but it weaves in certain curveballs here and there which keep it from being stale. Platforming sections are present throughout the game, which some people didn't like, but for me, it sort of provided a nice break in terms of the flow of the game, because when you're going through those boost levels, it can be so fast, you can't really take it in, and this just adds a little bit of challenge to the game, which I welcome. The weakest part of Sonic Omens in terms of gameplay has to be the tornado sections. They're just overly long, the controls aren't the best, and it just isn't really fun. This game also features fully animated and, for better or worse, voiced cutscenes, which do a decent job of calling back to Sonic media of the past. I'll not go into too much detail here, but some things are a little bit too on the nose at points, and there are some instances of the voice acting being not that great as well. Overall though, I can appreciate the effort that went into this game, and I can definitely see how it wouldn't be for everyone, but I think it deserves a spot on this list because of the sheer scale of the project itself. Number 4, Sonic 2 HD. Sonic 2 is my favourite game from the Genesis era. It introduced Tails, Super Sonic, and improved the flow of gameplay massively over the first. This game has been ported countless times over the years, and at this point, it's a little bit tired. Enter Sonic 2 HD. Created by all of these incredibly talented people, Sonic 2 HD is exactly what it says on the tin. It's a remake of Sonic 2, and it is absolutely mind-blowing. The sprite work here is just next level. The animations, the attention to detail, this game has it all. Team S2 HD have absolutely nailed this remake, and in my opinion, it could pass as an official game. It feels like a fresh take on the 2D formula. This game just exemplifies classic Sonic in the modern day. The only downside to this one is that the game was last updated in 2020, and the last official word that we heard about this game from the devs was that a shadow character model was coming to the game. However, that was like 3 years ago now, and sadly, I'm not sure it's ever going to come. Still, there's a lot of fun to be had here, and I loved every second of my time with this game. Number 3, Sonic Triple Trouble 16-bit. So, Sonic Triple Trouble was originally created for the Game Gear, which means that it was an 8-bit game. This one had the potential to be great, but the hardware just held it back. Fast forward a bit, and Noah N. Copeland, who clearly saw the potential of this game, decided to use his genius to recreate it in 16-bit style. And this game just rules. It might honestly be the best 2D Sonic game ever made, and I don't say that lightly. The sprite work is incredible, the soundtrack is top class, and the level design just works so well for this type of gameplay. In Triple Trouble 16-bit, you can also switch between Sonic and Tails with the press of a button, which is just awesome. Although I will say playing as Tails makes it a little bit easier because obviously he can fly and you can sort of skip some of the level that way, so just bear that in mind. And while the levels in this game are very traditional in terms of the original Sonic experience, 16-bit also features a variety of different gameplay shifts which change up the formula massively. From riding the tornado and avoiding obstacles, to snowboarding down a mountain, towards the camera whilst being chased by an avalanche, this game has it all, and it's incredible for it. It's just pure fun to play, and I can't sing this game's praises enough. And as someone who hasn't experienced the original Triple Trouble, this game has given me the chance to play it, and I'm eternally grateful for that. If you're a fan of 2D Sonic games, this needs to be the next game that you play. Number 2, Project 06. If you're familiar with Sonic at all, you probably know about the disaster that was Sonic 06. This is the game that completely destroyed Sonic's reputation back in the day. It was a mess. And although I kind of liked it back in the day, I mean, I was 11 after all, it's not a good game. Or is it? Well, that is the question that Chaos X and his team set out to answer. And my god, did they answer it. Sonic 06 is a brilliant game. Sonic Project 06, that is. So this version of Sonic 06 was built from the ground up in the Unity engine. It takes everything about Sonic 06 and revamps it to make it better in every single way. The loading screens are barely there. The copious amounts of bugs and glitches, well, they're gone. And the characters themselves have been overhauled to completely reshape the experience of the game. There's 1,000 quality of life changes that I can't list right now, otherwise I'll be here till next week. But the biggest one that I want to mention here is the super speed sections. Believe it or not, now you can actually control Sonic. And one slight miscalculation or movement doesn't mean instant death anymore. It's great. This is what Sonic 06 should have been from the start. And if you're a naysayer of Sonic 06, I urge you to give this one a go, because it's an incredible game from start to finish. Take a bow, Chaos X, because you've done the impossible here. Number 1, Sonic Robo Blast 2. Okay, this one was kind of a wild card for me. A Sonic game in the Doom engine? How the hell was that going to make any sense? But somehow, to quote the great Todd Howard, this game just works. Okay, Sonic Robo Blast 2 is what classic 3D Sonic should be. It's gorgeous to look at, it's very fun to play, and it captures Sonic's speed so well. And in a vacuum, Robo Blast 2 is an incredible Sonic game. However, once you factor in the ability to mod it, it just blows the doors of possibility clean off. For example, you want to be Mario in a Sonic game? You can do that. You want to play Sonic Adventure 2? Literally, Sonic Adventure 2 in this engine? You can do that as well, and that's what sold me on this game originally. But yeah, just look at this. It's like a demake of Sonic Adventure 2, and it's just absolutely incredible. You can play as Super Sonic. Hell, you can even play as the Doomslayer. After all, this is a game made on the Doom engine, so yeah, you can do that too. With mods, this game has endless replayability, and I have never experienced anything like it. I just keep finding myself coming back to this one just to try out different mods. And with the creativity in the Sonic community, this game gives creators a platform to just go nuts with all the tools at their disposal. And I'm saying this sincerely, this is truly one of the greatest Sonic games of all time.